Hello, and welcome to the John B. Levy & Company podcast. I'm your host, Rick Young. John, welcome back from the summer.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
Well, John, how much of a pickup has there been since last summer?
Yeah, I think commercial real estate's actually doing quite a bit better than last summer when there was no progress at all. So things are better. They are not running at a cheetah's pace, but they're certainly not running backwards as you might expect if we were going to see signs of a double dip in the economy. So we're moving along, although maybe not as quickly as most people, including us, would like.
Has government policy really helped keep rates down?
Well, government policy has really been a friend of commercial real estate. And let me just give you an example. Last summer, if you were a borrower and wanted 10-year fixed rate money, yeah, you'd have paid 7.75%, 7.5% for that. Today, you'd pay 5%, 5.25%, maybe 5.5%. So rates are down dramatically, 250 basis points from a year ago. So if you really want to see the direct impact on commercial real estate of government policy, there it is. Money's available, and for most people, it's at an all-time low level.
So you're saying commercial real estate is broadening beyond the core cities, and where are those opportunities?
Last year, and certainly early this year, we saw commercial real estate almost focused on 5 of 6 24-hour cities, the New Yorks, the Bostons, the Washingtons, and they got bid up so high, or in other words, yields were so low, that people are really starting to look in second and third tier cities for opportunities. And those cities might include Columbus, they may include our city, Richmond, it could be Atlanta, could be Denver, but it's no longer restricted to just the 5 or 6 so-called 24-hour cities on both coasts. Well, those big cities are still drawing a lot of attention both to downtown core assets. And in certain cities, for example, in downtown D.C., we see office buildings that are actually trading at all-time record high prices. And our argument would be that this is really debt-driven because 60 or 70% of the purchase price is at 4% or 4.5%. So cheap debt allows people to pay a lot more for these core assets than they ever would have paid, say, last summer.
Are banks really becoming flexible in extending commercial loans?
I don't know that flexible is exactly the right word I would use. I think we've all heard this terms that banks have got their head in the sand and that there's extend and pretend and delay and pray, and all they'd like you to do is to just keep the loan going for one more year. That's actually not been our experience. What we've found is that banks are perfectly willing to have discussions on extensions, but they're not free. And they want something from the borrower. They want a personal guarantee. They want the deed in escrow. They want cash equity. In other words, if your business plan as a borrower didn't work out, they're willing to work with you, but you have to bring something to the party. And that might include a higher interest rate.
Is leverage a little more plentiful this year?
Definitely more plentiful, Rick. And we really hit a low when leverage was in the 60%, 55%, maybe 65% loan to value if you were really lucky. Now 70, maybe even 75% is becoming a lot more available. We suspect that's because CMBS 2 is starting to come back. It's certainly not as active as we would have liked, but it's on the horizon. So lenders, whether they be institutions or banks, are taking a more reasoned approach to leverage, back to what I would call traditional norms.
Well, thanks a lot, John.
My pleasure.
Next time on the John B. Levy & Company podcast, the political implications of the midterm elections on commercial real estate.